common laboratory apparatus and equipments. Today we will begin this chapter. Now what we will learn in this chapter? We will learn about the importance of observations and experiment in chemistry, the importance of chemistry laboratory, names, description and use of apparatus and equipments, and also the precautions necessary to be taken in a chemistry lab. Now, what is a chemical laboratory actually? It's a place where the magic of chemistry comes alive. The colorful world of chemistry comes alive in this wonderful place called chemistry laboratory. So let's begin the chapter. The first thing which we need to know is observation. How come this word observation is important? Actually, chemistry is the study of matter. So, to study matter, we need to observe matter very carefully through the help of our five senses and also observe the changes it undergo. So observation is a very important part of chemistry. And what do we observe with? We observe with the help of our senses. That's what, when we are talking about observation, we are talking about what we see, what we hear, what we touch, what we taste and what we smell. So if you take a ripe mango, what do you see? You see the mango is solid. Can you hear anything? No, practically we don't hear anything from the ripe mango actually. But you can touch it, you can feel it, it's soft. And if you just crush it, it's juicy, it's pulpy. If you taste, it's sweet. Sometimes it may be sour also. And it has a nice smell. So you have studied a ripe mango with the help of your senses. You have observed the ripe mango with the help of your senses. Likewise, whatever you see around you, you have to observe those things with your five senses. And then only you will be able to learn chemistry. Like we observe the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. So this sort of observations helps us to draw scientific conclusions. That only tells us either the sun is moving or the earth is moving. So all such observations are very important part in the learning of chemistry. Experiment. An experiment is an activity where we observe a natural or an artificially created phenomenon, preferably under controlled conditions. So what do we mean by this? Let's take an example to understand. You take an ice cube and keep it outside in a tray. You will observe the ice cube slowly melts, changes into liquid water. So that's an observation you have made with the help of your eyes, with the help of your sight, that the solid ice has changed to liquid water. Okay, the previous part what we studied about. Now you do something else also. You also record the time taken for the ice cube to melt. So when you are recording the time taken for an ice cube to melt, you are carrying out an experiment. You are observing a natural phenomenon. That's a melting of ice cubes. Now the question here is, the moment you will go and tell your friends that an ice cube melts on when we keep it outside in a plate, and the ice cube takes maybe 20 minutes to melt, the first question will come. What is the size of that ice cube? Do all ice cubes take 20 minutes to melt? Now, if the ice cube is colored, if I add some food color and make an ice cube, will the ice cube take same time to melt as an ice cube which does not have food color? If I prepare the ice cube by adding some salt in it, will that ice cube melt in 20 minutes? So, when you have to try to find out these answers to these questions, that's the time when you have to start controlling the conditions. That means you have to also measure the size of the ice cube, maybe its volume or maybe its mass. You have to record that. You have to take that into account. And you can't just do an experiment with one ice cube and declare that all ice cubes take so and so time to melt. You have to repeat that experiment a number of times and then be sure that whatever the conditions, the ice cube will melt and the ice cube will take so much time to melt. So this is an experiment is all about. An experiment is trying to observe a natural phenomena or an artificially created phenomena under controlled conditions and trying to study it, trying to find out the answers to various questions which comes to our mind. Okay, like we can see a raw mango ripens when it's in a tree. If I pluck a raw mango and keep it in my house, maybe in a bucket or in a bowl, will that raw mango become ripe on its own after some days? So then I have to do an experiment to find it out. Really it will ripen or it will not ripen. So these are all experiments when we do any activity to observe any natural or artificially created phenomenon. Laboratory. A laboratory is a place where experiments are done carefully with the help of various apparatus and equipments. So it's a place where you carry out the experiments, and when you carry out the experiments you have to be very careful and you will be using a various types of apparatus and equipments. So we will study about these apparatus and equipments in the next part of the chapter. So you will use various apparatus, like when you was testing whether ice cube melts or not, you kept the ice cube in a plate. Now the question is, if you keep an ice cube in a glass and one ice cube in a tray, will both the ice cube take the same time to melt? So find it out. Do this experiment and find it out. Record the time taken. Then you have done an experiment out here. And whatever changes you observe, you record those changes. So in the laboratory, after that doing the experiment, you have to observe the change and draw conclusions from it. So that means you have to analyze your results. So basically here you will perform experiments, you will observe chemical processes, and then you will analyze all these results and you will be trying to find out answers. Now, what are the facilities present in a lab? You can't just go and work in an empty room. So you need a place to work, you need different apparatus to work. So what if you enter a lab, what you will find out? You will find a working table. That's a place where you will be working, where you will keep your apparatus there. The working table will have a sink attached to it, a sink with a tap where water flows will always be present in a working table. You will see a Bunsen burner where you will be using it to burn substances in the working table. We have a reagent shelf in the lab. That's where we keep all the chemicals in a systematic way. An exhaust fan, because we need to keep the air in the room fresh and remove all poisonous gases and foul smelling gases out of the room. So an exhaust fan is always there in a lab. A balance room is always attached to a lab to measure the mass of all the chemicals with which you will be carrying out the experiments. So these are the facilities which we find in a lab. This is how a lab looks like.